Welcome to Lesson 10, Science 7. It's time to find out which student had the best explanation. For this lesson, you need to take out your journal slip from yesterday and a different colored pencil. If you're working digitally, bring up your digital slip and change your font color to keep track of your changes and additions. The phenomenon we've argued about is actually a real-life phenomenon. Remember Charles Darwin from that video clip in an earlier lesson? Well, Darwin actually took a voyage to the Galapagos Islands, a group of islands off the west coast of South America, like you see right here. And while he hopped around on the different islands, he noticed that these little birds, these finches, all had different beak sizes. I have an idea. Why don't we take a virtual field trip and see this phenomenon play out? Then we can finally figure out which student's explanation is best. I'm going to start a video clip. Watch and listen because this will give us the evidence we need to determine which student is correct.
Charles Darwin.
I'm going to start it at 10 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, there's some folks who call Daphne Major the laboratory of evolution.
So
It's
we're on
a really
the island
great place
of
to
Daphne
see
Major.
evolution actually happening because the system, the biological system, is relatively simple. Not too many components, and for the finches, it kind of boils down to what seeds are here and what tool do I have to crack those seeds.
The main ground finch here is about halfway in size between the two species Dave and I looked at earlier.
So you can see the finches in real life.
What the researchers have found is that when small seeds are plentiful, usually in rainy years, the beaks of the birds born the following year are also, on average, smaller. When there are plenty of large seeds in drier years, the next generation has beaks that are larger. This is evolution, and its driving force, Darwin's great insight, is natural selection. Here's what's happening.
Pay attention.
In every generation of finches, there's a range of beak sizes, some a little smaller than the average, some a little larger. When small seeds are plentiful, when there's been plenty of rain, the smaller beaked birds are the more efficient eaters, so they thrive and produce more offspring than the larger beaked birds. The result is that in the next generation, there are more small than large beaked birds. The average beak size is smaller than the last generation. The population has evolved. When conditions change and a dry year brings more large seeds than small,
So an environmental
then
pressure.
large-beaked birds do better. They leave more offspring, and the population shifts toward a larger average beak size. Smaller to larger, larger to smaller. It's these subtle shifts in beak size that the researchers have so meticulously documented.
The really significant thing they found is that oscillating back and forth, that the size of the beak really does change over short periods of time, and they know exactly why. It's because their food supply changes.
And that's a case of actually seeing evolution in progress, to see it as it happens?
Yeah. The really cool thing about this, for everybody, scientists and everybody else, is that there's no question that it is evolution happening in front of our eyes. We don't have to think of evolution as being something that you only get from the fossil record or theorizing about. You can go to a place like Daphne Major, where it's simple, and you can actually see the evolution happening on almost a monthly basis, but certainly an annual basis.
So
I've
on a
often heard
shorter
people
time
say-
scale, we can see
people
evolution.
sympathetic to the idea of evolution, that you have to take a little bit of it on faith, but you don't have to take any of it on faith.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not after this study. People visit here, not just scientists. They need a trail that's established.
It's wonderfully appropriate that evolution should move from theory to fact in the study of Darwin's finches. Because it was while Darwin himself was trying to make sense of his haphazard finch collection that the idea of evolution first occurred to him. With it, he could explain not only why different islands have different finches, but also different mockingbirds, different plants.
So we can
different
explain
tortoises.
many different phenomena with
From the
this
time
idea.
their ancestors arrived in the archipelago, the animals on different islands have gone their own independent ways, shaped by the conditions they found themselves in, until eventually they became different species.
Okay. So, do you know which student had the best explanation? Take a moment to think of your final answer. You got it. It's student C. This student correctly states that the large-beaked variety was better adapted to find food when the environmental pressure, the weather, changed. So this kind of bird survived, reproduced, and passed on the helpful genetic trait. Take a moment to write down student C's response on your journal slip so that you have it. So why were the other students incorrect? Well, student A had the misconception that the small-beaked birds could somehow change the trait they were born with. This can't happen. The same with student B. Just because the small-beaked birds used their beaks more, that didn't mean that that trait was going to change. And student C had the misconception that the population change was all due to chance. That's not true either. Since large-beaked birds got more food, they survived and reproduced more often, passing on this helpful trait to their future offspring. Take a moment to add these justifications to your journal slip for each student. You can pause this screencast now to do so. You're now ready to submit evidence of today's learning. Submit a photo of your written responses or a digital copy of your revised slip. Make sure that your revisions are shown in a different color. Until tomorrow, keep thinking and keep learning.